Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm doing a little video today on FM25 and the whole sort of controversy surrounding it, and the controversy with kind of how FM24 was leading into FM25 and the promises that were made in FM25. But before I do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to thank everybody for the support on the previous videos. Video, the Civ 7 video that I did. If you're subscribed for that, don't worry, plenty of Civ content coming, but I want to keep it sort of diverse on here and talk about pretty much all the games that I like and play, and you know, it's a wide variety, put it that way. So there might be some stuff on here that doesn't really interest you. That's fine, you know, click off this video, watch the next one that comes out, which is hopefully more on a game that you guys like. But yeah, getting into the drama within FM25. I'm currently recording this on the 31st of January, and yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. If I quickly go over onto their socials. So looking into the socials here, you can see that they made an update on October the 10th of 2024 upon the release of the game in November, and announcing that they had to delay it till the 25th of March. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here about why, you know, they basically came to that decision. But the key part of information here that I want to focus on is the new gameplay reveal will also now move to the end of January 2025. That's today, and let me say, like, they could still come out with an update today. I think this should be going live on the 1st of Feb, so they might have had an update by then. I'll be sure to put that in the description or the comments if they have done, but as it kind of stands right now, this is ridiculously worrying. So the title of this video, what I want to talk about here, is why I think Football Manager 2025 is going to fall flat on its face, basically, and fail. There's a whole multitude of reasons that we'll get into. We'll get into why I think, or how I think, should I say, that they can rectify it and fix it. So, I mean, kind of after going through that statement, you can see that the initial reason why, you know, it's gonna fail is that they failed to deliver it on time. Number one, that's a bigger. Another thing that I alluded to earlier is in the release of FM24, they spoke about how there wasn't a lot of change within that game, and that it was all being focused on the new, I believe it's called Unity engine, that they were switching over to, and that we would reap the rewards of that in FM25. And now that took a lot of good faith from the community and a lot of loyalty from the community to be like, you know what, we respect that. We're still going to buy your game, even though there's not a lot of changes, and you know, we're gonna look forward to, you know, the game coming out, you know, next year, FM25, and hopefully get a flurry of new features. It'll feel like a completely new, brand new game, which is rare for Football Manager to have that sort of update. You know, we've year by year we've been having micro improvements, which have been great, and you know, the loyal fan base, you know, never really complains too much. But yeah, I feel like that good faith has, you know, been wearing thin, shall we say. And that actually brings me on to my next point as well. It's the sort of good faith from the community, the loyalty from the community. It's been betrayed, I feel. The problem with FM games in general is, again, there's not a lot of updates year to year, and so you're counting on the loyalty of the community to keep buying your game because they respect it so much. It's such a fun experience. If you play Football Manager as much as I do, I log about 1,000 hours per year on Football Manager, which is insane. So why would I, you know, worry about paying, I don't even know how much the price is these days, like £50 for a new game. It might not be that, it might be like 35 quid. I genuinely forget the price. But why would I not want to pay a new game price for that when I'm getting that experience and that amount of game time out of a game? But where you know, that sort of fails is when they're not releasing new features, they're not updating the game properly enough. Like, essentially what you're paying for is updated transfers, updated clubs in the right leagues to be up to date, basically. The new features are minuscule. Like, I don't really care about hierarchies or, you know, manager touchline shouts, things like that. Realistically, I'm doing it to get the transfer update. And then, just to touch finally as well, I feel like, and it's very much been a point this year, is that there's been a lack of transparency when the updates and the delays and things like that. If you cast your minds back to when FM25 was supposed to be coming out and information was supposed to be getting revealed, the reality is they knew what was happening behind the scenes, and they knew that there was a delay coming, and yet they continued to put out these updates to, you know, get the player base excited for these new updates and insinuate that the game was coming, no problems. But we were still waiting for gameplay. We weren't getting any gameplay. It was just telling us like, oh, we've got, you know, women's football in there, things like that. Fantastic, great. Show me some gameplay. Show me some gameplay. And the lack of transparency with that, then just to drop it on us very late and basically say that, like, look, there's going to be a delay. People had made their pre-orders. People had made their plans. I'll hold my hand up. I book annual leave off work for when Football Manager comes out. Sad as anything, I know it is, but I book annual leave off. You know, fortunately for me, I hadn't pre-ordered the game by that point, so I got off lightly there. And I know that I'm pretty sure they allowed people to get refunds on the game, so also fair enough. But still, the lack of transparency and trying to sort of felt like they were trying to get away with it basically and just bide their time until it was too late and the inevitable became the inevitable and they had to announce the delay. So then, more onto the title of this video and why I think it will fail particularly. So I've just outlined the issues there, the issues that the current game's got, or the company's got currently. Why I think it will then go on to fail is, it's not a secret in the sort of industry and in the people who enjoy the game, is that, you know, it's being released in March. The football season ends in May. That's 2 months, and it depends when in March as well. I'm not sure if they've given a particular date on this. No, they haven't given a date. They've just said March 2025 here. So, with that in mind, it could be the end of March. And the way that they've been going recently and basically giving a month and then delaying whatever they're doing until the last possible day in that month, I'm saying it now, it'll be a 31st of March release. The season's ended. Who's going to have interest in playing that game? You'll be buying that game if you want all the updated transfers, basically. But there's people online, I'm sure... Sort It Out SI is one of the guys I use for the face pack. You know, pay the fee every month to get full access to the face pack. Cracking set of, don't even know what you call it, face packs. Set of data, I don't know. But it's cracking, it's great, it's fantastic. I'm sure he's done something about like transfer updates and stuff like that. It can be done. It's not the most clean aesthetic experience, but it can be done. So with that in mind, like why would I buy the game in March, expecting, and this is a big expectation as well, is that FM26 then after that will go back to the initial release schedule of November. There's a big question mark around that as well. Is the new FM26 going to get released in November of 2025? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think it is. Like the only way that gets released if they release a game that's basically just a transfer update and barely any features, and then to release new features, you would assume that then they're going to hold back those features from FM25, because if they're ready enough to be an FM26, really they should be an FM25. That's just my personal opinion. Or are they just going to basically introduce international management back, which they've taken away from this game if you didn't know. International management will not be in FM25, and then they're just going to give us that back in 26 and be like, oh, new feature. It's not a new feature, is it? It already existed and you took it away from us. So, and that's ultimately it as well with FM26 coming out. So assuming that comes out, even if it's a bit later in December, are people going to want to buy the game in March? Considering the season's almost done now anyway, would they not just rather wait for the new season, wait for the new game, and buy that game? There's going to be a lot of people who do that. And it's not just purely for that sort of time barrier sort of thing as well. I think, you know what I'm going to relate this to? And I mean, it's a long shot here. I'm going to relate it to COVID, right? People during COVID, you know, had to work from home, right? And then what happened is when they worked from home is they realised, oh, this is fantastic. Productivity hasn't dropped. Actually, efficiency's gone up. And, you know, we cut down on travel costs. We cut down on office costs. This is fantastic, right? That's what's happened with the delay of this release, because I felt it. I've bought the new Football Manager every single year. Obviously, now this year, we've got into the new season. I've had to carry on playing FM24. But actually, as a result of it, I've been doing a longer save, and I've been enjoying myself, and I've realised, hold on a minute, I don't need to buy a new Football Manager every year, because I've been still enjoying myself on the old Football Manager. So that could be a problem as well. Personally, like, I potentially might still buy the new game. I'm sure a lot of other people will potentially buy the new game, but I'm talking about the broader market here. The broader market might think, oh, you know what? I've actually realised I don't need to buy the new Football Manager. I'm actually alright with this one. It's fine. It's a solo game. It's not online. With the new FIFA, you can't just stick to the old FIFA because the entirety of the player base is on the new one, because it's an online game. You don't have that problem with Football Manager, so that's something that they also need to consider as well. They've lost a lot of good faith in the community, and you know, a lot of them will probably just decide to, you know what, I'll stick on Football Manager 2024, and they'll lose out a lot of sales to that, and their profit margins will be a lot slimmer. As well, you know, I alluded to it before. No update in January. Is the game going to be ready? Is it going to have bugs when it drops? Again, the community feel betrayed. The trust has gone. If I'm buying the game, I'm going to be honest, I'm not expecting it to be polished. I think it's going to be full ridden with bugs, and even games to like 2024 still bug ridden. You know, it's not a perfect game. I'll talk through one thing in particular that really winds me up, and I've put support tickets in for it when the betas have been released, but it never gets fixed. And it's when, and it's a very small issue, this, it really doesn't matter in the long scheme of things, but say I have someone as like an under-18s coach or under-18s manager at Manchester City, right? Say I've give Aguero the job, right? Maybe in 2-3 seasons time, I want to promote him to the main team, get him as a main team coach. In his job history, that doesn't update. It just stays the same. It still says he's an under-18s coach. And, you know, sometimes it's nice to be able to go through your coaching staff, and if you've got a long-term save, see that you've brought someone in at under-18s level, put them up to under-21s level, then put them up to a main team coach. Or maybe they've gone from, like, under-20s manager, under-21s manager, to then assistant manager in your main team. Like, that's a cool transition to sort of see in your save. And, yeah, anyway, that's not what this video's about, but a bugbear that I wanted to get off my mind. And, yeah, just to finish off, I've already touched on these points, so I won't go on about them too much. No update in January, still. I mean, might have to correct that if something does come out today, but still yet no update. And, you know, do we think that the game's going to come out in March every year now? Is that going to be the new normal for us? Or are we actually going to then go back to a November release schedule? I don't know. But that takes me on to a more positive note, not trying to be negative here. A more positive note of like, right, well, what can they do to fix this then? You know, they've made the mistake, there's no going back on it. What's happened's happened. How can they fix this now? I'm going to say now off the bat, a lot of these things are probably unrealistic and not going to happen, but they're worth saying. Then, you know, they'll turn around and say, well, that's not possible for X, Y, and Z. But, you know, putting it out into the universe, like, at the end of the day, I'm a consumer. I buy the products. I'm just letting the company know, personally, what I think would return some good faith. What they could do off the bat is they could offer the game at a discounted price. Knowing that it's delayed, knowing there's been a lot of stuff happening in the community, they could essentially, you know, wipe a little bit of the profit margin away and release the game at a discount. Now, I think this is probably the most realistic thing to happen. They're still making money on the game. They understand that, you know, the game's come at a delay. Maybe offer it at a discounted price to begin with. Don't make it a full price, or maybe allow people who own Football Manager 2024 to get access to a discount code. You know, something like that. Something to reward the community for being patient, for waiting, making sure that it is people who are in the community who have played the game before that they get access to a discount code. Next up, the more extreme option. They could just scrap this year's game and focus on Football Manager 2026. Now, back in November, October, you wouldn't have thought this is possible. A lot of content creators and a lot of, you know, smarter people than myself were saying why this wasn't possible. Their publisher is Sega, and they've probably got a deal with them to release the game every year, and, you know, scrapping a game completely is just going to, you know, impact them massively in terms of paying staff, in terms of that partnership working, basically. But we're now in January, the end of January, and we haven't had an update. The reality that the game might have to be delayed or scrapped completely and just move on to FM26 is becoming more and more a possibility in my mind. I still don't think it would happen, but if I was to put it on a scale of probability, like it was probably like 10% likely, 5% likely back in October, November, whereas I think now it's more like 30% likely. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the likeliness of it is improved, which, I don't know, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think sometimes, you know, maybe just admitting their mistake and being like, you know what, Football Manager 2025 ain't the one, guys. We're going to move to Football Manager 2026. That's going to be the one. We're not going to try and release a game, you know, at the end of the season, try and just fleece you for your money and then release another game like 7 months later. Like, we're not going to do that. So we'll see what ends up happening there. This one's a very likely option in a way, and it's essentially to just release a good game. You know, at the end of the day, if they release Football Manager 2025 and it like absolutely blows my mind, then I'll retrospectively think like, okay, maybe I was a bit harsh. Maybe they did have a lot of changes going on, and they've improved the game massively. I can understand why it took a while to come out. You know, similar to like some delays with like say Cyberpunk in the past. I know it wasn't a fully fleshed out game when it got released, but to the point where I played it, it was a great game. You know, after it got bug fixes, like if a game takes a while to come out and it ends up being a really good game, then I think that returns a lot of good faith from the community. And then, I mean, just in general, I don't think this will fix things, but just to mitigate bad faith from the community again in the future, I think they could do more stuff with content creators, get content creators a lot more involved, not just for like pre-release, you know, recordings to then, you know, release to there, but, you know, throughout the cycle of the game as well. I know they did tournaments with esports towards the back end of last year. They could get more involved with that. You know, Dr. Benji does a Creators Cup, you know, get more involved in that, get that back going again. Just do more stuff with the community and the content creators around it, just to return some good faith back to the community. Because the game seems to just be, a lot of the time, it gets released, there's a lot of hype and a lot of stuff around content creation when the game gets released, but then after the first month, it's like, right, you just get the cycle of content throughout the year from people doing different saves, and then end, rinse, repeat. They could do more there, basically, is what I'm saying, and they probably should do more. So yeah, overall, my thoughts on the game and it coming out and where I stand on things, because it's one thing kind of reporting on everything that's happened and saying, you know, oh, you know, fantastic this or bad that. Where do I lie on things? The reality is, for me, I think it very circumstantial, but potentially might not buy the game this year. We'll have to wait and see. It's one of those things. As time went on, originally in like October, I was like, I am not buying the new game when it comes out in March. You can get lost. As time's gone on, I've been more like, oh, do you know what? I might buy the game. It's a cheap game. Put a lot of time into it. I do enjoy it. I'll probably buy it. That might still happen. I've got what, two months until the game's supposed to be released. So by the time that comes around, I might have changed my mind. But I'm on the fence, and I'm never normally on the fence. It's a definite purchase every single year, and they've got me thinking whether it's worth me rewarding them essentially with my wallet for the absolute shit show that they've had on display. You know, I've mentioned it before, but having continued playing FM24 this year, I'm actually on a very long-term save at the moment that I'm very much enjoying, and why would I want to throw that away? I'm enjoying my save. I have no desire to get a new game. I normally naturally know a game's coming out in November, so don't start any new long saves up until that point. So naturally, I'm wanting a new game. I'm not at that point anymore now. I'm in a save, I'm enjoying it. I don't know what's happening with Football Manager, so I haven't started to sort of tear that down now. So I might just stick to Football Manager 2024. And ultimately, going off the back of that point as well, he's like, you just can't trust SI anymore, you know, after everything that they've done. Again, lost a lot of bad faith. I don't think they can argue with that, really. A lot of the trust in the community's gone, a lot of trust in me's gone, and so I'm not going to stop playing the game assuming that a new game's going to be coming out when there've been delays and radio silence and everything from the community, not from the community, from SI themselves to the community. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's just been me having a little bit of a ramble. It'll be a nice quick one, I hope, and just letting you know my thoughts on FM25 and updating in the community. A little bit of a different one. We will be getting to gameplay videos when these games get released, hopefully, and I'll be streaming these games as well again, hopefully. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You know, do drop a subscription if you want to see more of that. If you want to be notified of my streams when I do go live here on YouTube. But other than that, keep your eyes out for more videos coming soon. I'm gonna keep trying to upload regular. I appreciate the support that I've had so far, and yeah, I will catch you all in the next one.